You're listening to The Happy Podcast with your host, Ava Keenan.
And today's guest is U.S. Olympic skier Nick Page. Hey guys, it's your host Ava Keenan, back with the Happy Podcast. This is Run 3, and podcast is all where we talk to some of the most accomplished athletes in the world about success, happiness, and just like dreams in general. And today's guest is Nick Page, U.S. Olympic mogul skier. So yeah, now we're gonna welcome him in. We're just gonna have a good conversation. What's up, Nick?
Awesome. Hi, Ava. It's great to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I guess we'll just start with like the original stuff, get it out of the way. How did you get into mogul skiing?
Yeah. So, good question. How did I get into mogul skiing? It started. I got on snow at 2 years old here at Deer Valley in Park City. My parents just got me out, and their main goal was really we just want to get Nick on snow so we can learn how to ski, so he can just be at a point where he can come ski with us on the weekends. We can ski together as a family. So I was in their ski school program there up until I was 6. And from there, I kind of got to the point where I was like, man, I'm having so much fun skiing, but I'm going in for so many hot chocolate breaks that I'm not getting as much time on the snow as what I want. So I went to my parents, I talked to them. And at that same time, I had a couple of friends in my class who had just joined the freestyle program, Wasatch Freestyle. It was based out of Deer Valley as well. So I joined the team with John O'Brien, Rick Shaner. And from when I was 7, starting as a little mogul monster, up until when I was 16, when I made the national team, I was with them.
Yeah, that's like incredibly relatable.
Yeah, right.
Really relatable. Like that's like how like a lot of people and myself get into it.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you started up in a very similar way where you were just itching, like biting, every time you could get out on snow to keep doing it.
Yeah, seriously. And then I was like, okay, like it's 10:30. We just got out on snow. How come we're going in already? Like I want to keep skiing.
Right.
Yeah. So you were 2 when you got on snow?
Yep, 2 for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And what was your like first impressions when you got into like the freestyle group?
Yeah. So it started out. It was interesting because I was like hands down by far the worst person on our team. I was the one holding the group up, way behind. The coaches would do the little drill where they make you jump over a bamboo pole, and I'm the one going straight into it, causing a scene. So for the first couple years that I was on the team and in the freestyle program, I was playing catch up. I was trying to get up to the level everyone else was at. And, I think through that kind of found, what worked, what didn't work, and just kind of found my love for improving at something, really working at something and seeing the progress every single day to get better at it. And then, in the competition setting, once it started kind of snowballing and rolling and getting better, that's when things really started to take off and really just was so fun for me. And I enjoyed that part so much.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I know a lot of people, if they like don't do well, especially in like the first year, and you said like couple years, they just kind of like give up their hope and they're just like, okay, I'm not good at this. I'm gonna find something else to do. How come you decided like? How come you like wanted to just like stick with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Going through it at the time, I don't even know if I knew what was going on. I don't even know if I knew I was the worst person in the group. But I was really lucky. I had a great bunch of coaches all around me who were really putting a bunch of energy into me, and they saw, the work I was doing and that I really wanted to get better. Because one, I just really enjoyed it. It's like, if my parents asked me what did I want to do this weekend, like go out and ski Deer Valley with Wasatch Freestyle was my answer every single time. So whether I was good at it or I wasn't at that point, it was just like, that's what I want to do. And then just doing it more, you eventually improve at it.
Yeah. And now, at what age were you like, all right, so I'm getting good at this. I really like it. Like, I want to turn this into a career. This is something I want to do. This is, like.
Yeah, I was really interested in moguls, really like kind of obsessed with it from a fan standpoint, after watching the 2010 Olympics, I saw Brian Wilson win a bronze medal, who came from Wasatch Freestyle. Hannah Carney won a gold. And so people that were pretty close in this community, I was like, wow, like they're in a similar situation to where I am, and they did that. So that's what really kind of took it off. And then from there, it probably wasn't until, I was, call it maybe 12 years old, where things were really starting to kind of pick up, just around your age, where things were like, man, I'm seeing that I'm improving at this. I am really enjoying it, and I'm always looking for the next step. So then by the time I kind of started high school, I was in a position where I was going to a special school to make skiing work, because I was going through the summer months. So it kind of took off from there, and that's when it really buckled down and realized, like, I have a shot to make this a real thing.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, and probably
So-
similar to where you're at right now too.
Yeah, I'm hoping I could be as successful as you. That's for sure.
Mhm.
So you were 16 when you got on the team. What were your first impressions of all of that?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Making the US team at 16 on the men's side was definitely something that hadn't happened in a long time. I was definitely on the younger end of that whole curve. So I was jumping in the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of came into that season, the thinking was, I'd be on the NORAM tour. I'd still be kind of developing as a skier, but then with injuries and people taking different parts of time off, I found myself as the last name on the World Cup start list. So then jumping in the deep end took on a whole new meaning, because I was going from, scraping it together on the NORAM tour the year before, where I think I finished 10th, to then, being in Ruka in the starting gate with Mick Kingsbury, who's the best in the world.
Yeah.
So it snowballed really fast, and I kind of had to learn a lot of stuff as I was going and on the way. But looking back at it, it was awesome, because I kind of was able to figure all that out by failing at it,
Mm-hmm.
and then got some lessons, some things to bring through to where I'm at now that I couldn't get without them.
Yeah, that's that's really cool. I mean, I wasn't really expecting that answer, because you said that you just were kind of like jumping into the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, that makes sense, because
Right.
with guys, it's like definitely really, really difficult to get on a team at that young of an age. And it's just really cool that you were able to do that and then keep going, and then just seeing your progress over the years. And now, you've won your first World Cup, and you're just
Mhm.
really getting these podiums on the World Cup tour. And so, yeah, that's really great.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who do you think is your biggest motivation or role model, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have two parts to, to my answer on this, because I think both of them are very important, but they're both they're similar, but they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first part of it came from, the individuals that I saw every day through our small sport of mogul skiing, and that, I looked up to Brian Wilson, Brad Wilson a lot growing up, Shokashima, and now Mick Kingsbury's kind of helped take me under my wing the last couple of years, and has really been kind of a big brother to me, who I've not only looked up to, as a competitor, but also someone that I always know I can kind of go to and ask for help when I need it, which is really special. And then on the other side of that, the people that I love watching through all sports, I think those individuals have a huge impact and a huge benefit to what I'm doing. So I love like Michael Jordan's a big one, Kobe Bryant, and Tiger Woods are like my three favorite athletes outside of mogul skiing. And I always thought, the work ethic, like the will to win and improve and get better every day are things that really stuck with me, and kind of, yeah, I don't know, things that kind of shaped me into who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I heard you mention that Mick has been helping you out a lot, and as you know, or you don't know actually, but he is gonna be my next guest on this
Oh,
podcast. Yeah, and so I'll be excited to see, what he thinks about, obviously taking you under his wing, and just kind of talk to him about that a little bit.
oh, that's awesome.
And also you mentioned that this was kind of mogul skiing is obviously a small sport. Not a lot of people know about it. Kind of difficult to get exposure when you can only get one gold medal, which now you can get two, which is a big
Right.
win for us. But
That's huge.
do you think our sport is as popular as it should be?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I think it's easy to be in the sport and always think, man, I wish it was so much more popular. I wish it was the
Yeah.
PGA Tour or the NBA. But I think the things that we're doing in it still stay the same. We're still waking up every day, looking in the mirror, saying, "How can I get 1% better? How can you get a little edge on your competition?" And that goes across all sports. So I think those fundamentals build sport in general to such a good place. And then with that, comes the popularity of who likes to watch it. There's not a big percentage of the United States that has snow, has ski resorts. So you kind of cut out some viewership in that regard. But I think we just have to be grateful that we're on a stage, on a platform where we do have fans, where we do have people that support us, because they make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then I sit here and think all the time. I'm like, dang, mogul skiing is so much more entertaining than sitting down and watching golf or tennis. In my opinion, personally, I'm like,
Yeah,
it's just
right.
it's just so much more nerve wracking watching our sport. Like, are they gonna wipe out? Are they gonna go outshoot the landing? Are they gonna throw down this perfect 10? Is he gonna land the 14 for the first time? I just feel like it's way more. I just feel like it was way more fun to watch. But then again, you're right. A lot of people do not have snow where they live. Like a lot of people.
Yeah, right.
And then also, you think a lot of people don't have the snow there, but then why is alpine so much more popular?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure you've had a similar experience when you're sitting on a chairlift with people who are asking you about mogul skiing, and they say, "Man, moguls, why did you pick those? Every time I get in the mogul field, I hate it. It's the hardest part of the mountain."
Yeah.
Um, so there's probably some drawback on that. We're the crazy people who like that and enjoy that, which is it's awesome because it makes us who we are. But to the vast majority of people, they see the mogul run and they're like, "Okay, I'm going down the left. I'm going on the blue run on
Yeah,
the side with no
seriously.
bumps."
Then also those people, I guess just sitting here thinking about it, like a little kid who's like who are in situations like you and me, I don't want to be in this little kid group anymore. I don't want to be taking all these hot chocolate breaks. And they think mogul skiing, they're like, whoa, that's gonna take me a couple years to actually just be able to rip a zipper line in. But oh, you see this alpine course over here. I could get down that first try. And they're like, maybe I'll just go over here then because
Right.
it's a lot easier. And so that's just what I came up with, sitting here, and also all those
Yeah.
adults who are like, you're crazy for liking that. If I feel like there would be so much more people if mogul skiing just looked easier from the start, it would be so much more popular than it is now because a lot of people the first thing they see is this hard course. It's steep. There's these bumps that you have to react to super quick and fast, and they're just like,
Mm.
I think I'm gonna avoid that for now. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
But I mean, with all
Unfortunately.
those kids out there, how do we even get how do you think we can even get more people into this sport? Because it's just they had advertising it, I guess. How would we even do that?
Yeah. Right, that's a great question. I think we're at a really cool spot in the sport right now because we have so many young kids interested in moguls.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my program here, Wasatch Freestyle, that I coach a little bit on, and I kind of spend time with. They've got little mogul monsters coming out their ears. There's so many.
Mhm.
But you know what? Kind of you talked about earlier, and you touched on is having two medal opportunities in the Olympics now is huge. Just
Yeah.
you think in the past we've worked 4 years for one shot, one opportunity
Mhm.
to get that medal, and now we have two. So really, we just doubled the whole landscape, the whole scope of what freestyle moguls is, kind of
Yeah.
on the world stage, because it really does kind of revolve around that Olympic year. So that's huge.
Yeah, and things like racing, you have so many opportunities to get medals. You go in, you absolutely biff in one event. You're like, no, I'll be fine. I got slalom next. I'll be all right. And then you mess up. No, I got GS next. I'll be all right. You have so many opportunities But for us
Right.
now, like, you've got one shot, and now, thank God, we have two. Still not a
Yeah.
lot, but way better than before.
Hey,
And
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what else we could add because moguls you can't do much with that. But
Right.
yeah, I feel like now all these records will be broken too, instead of just those two that were set by Alex Bilodeau with just those two gold medals in a row. Was it Alex
Right.
Bilodeau or Jean-Luc Broussard?
Um, I know Alex was because he won in 2010 and 2014.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So now
Hmm.
instead of just those two medals, now people might have the chance to do double medals back to back, and that
Right.
might help us get some exposure as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, yeah. So like when people like start skiing, they like go up the ladder, right? Start at the
Hmm.
little pee wee comps, and it starts to get a little bit more intense, and then it gets to the point where you're getting ready for NORAMs and FIS and everything. I'm at the stage right now where I've qualified for basically every single FIS event, but I can't go because I'm not old
Yeah.
enough. So
Hmm.
were you ever in that situation, and how do
I
you feel about having to wait until you're 14 to do those comps?
I was, yeah. I was in that same situation you are. Qualified for nationals. I qualified for selections.
Yeah.
I think I did when I was 12, just same age as you, and then kind of just had to sit on it and wait because it was like, man, what do you do? Do you petition your way in? But do you not? What was the goal? But really, the thing that it kind of boiled down to was no matter where I was skiing, the goal was to just do my best, improve every single step. So whether
Mhm.
that was, a Devo competition, or I'm skiing with kids much younger than me at the time, or if I was skiing at the very top level of the regionals, it was still, the same goal. Still try to go out there, do my best, see what can happen. And then by the time that, I did get that green light, you turn the magic age of 14 in our sport. I stepped in that nationals gate and it was like nothing new happened. Nothing changed because I was still
Mhm.
coming in, trying to do my best, try to improve as much as I could every day. And then you take that story down to, stepping into my first World Cup gate, and it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Starter says 3, 2, 1, go. You push out of the gate and you do your best.
Yeah.
So really, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's a World Cup, whether it's the smallest event, you're pushing out of the gate with the same goal.
Exactly. And that's a good approach because right now I'm kind of like one of my really good friends just turned 14 like a couple days ago, and now she's gonna be able to go to selections and
Mm,
nationals and everything. And I'm like, oh my god, like I just want to go like so bad.
right.
Like I mean, with your approach, it kind of just takes away like that, not like the eagerness to go, but kind of just like the impatience, I guess, to go.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Hmm.
it's just kind of like you're like, okay, this whole is just like building up to it, and when I get there, instead of like watching the finals, I'll be in the finals and I'll be ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah, you got the right mindset right there.
Yeah, yeah. So you're talking like pushing out the gate. I get like so scared before pushing out the gate.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I've kind of got better at it this year, sort of. I've been able to handle it better. I realize what's better for me, what's like doesn't work for me, what does, and stuff like that. But how do you handle your stress in the gate? I mean, it must have been nerve-wracking for the Olympics, especially.
Hmm.
Must have been nerve-wracking first time in the World Cup. I mean, how do you handle your stress?
Yeah, that's a great question because it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, and I don't know if I'd even say that I figured it out now. Um,
Mhm.
just with a couple of good results under my belt, I'm still learning and trying to figure that out where I can do it every single time. But it's not the answer anyone really wants to hear. But I think the biggest thing was failing over and over and over again. Like I look back to the season that really stood out for me was my last year of the NORAM tour before I went to World Cup because the first event I bombed it. I think I qualified 22nd, missed finals. Next event qualified first, fell in finals, got 16th. Next event qualified first, didn't have a good finals run, got 13th. Next event qualified 10th, then went to third, then won. So it was a bunch of events stacked up where it was like, okay, you did horrible at the first one. Okay, learn from it. How can you ski better in qualifying? Okay, you did that, right? You skied better in qualifying, you won that. Then you screwed it up in finals. Okay, learn from the next one. How do you qualify well, do well in finals? Okay, you didn't do that. You did better. You didn't fall but you still didn't do that good. And then by the last one, it's like, okay, you work your way through every step. And then boom, gold medal. So I think there was a big learning advantage to me that year, because every single event, I was just trying to learn something new, figure out what I did wrong so I could improve it. Because at that point, I was doing a lot of stuff right. It was just figuring out how to do it right all the time and when it mattered. But I think really when it comes down to the stress in the gate, putting in the work through all the time building up to it, to then be ready to push out of the gate with that confidence, knowing that you're there, you're ready, and that you can go out and be strategic and tactical on what you're trying to put forward is important.
Yeah. My coaches stress that all the time. They're like,
Mhm.
you guys do the work here, you step into that gate, and it's just another training run. And also, they're just like, you do this all the time.
Mhm.
It's no different besides the starter right there. Don't even see the judges at the bottom. No
Right.
different.
Exactly.
And the best part, you got your friends cheering up there for you. And
Mhm.
then
Yep.
that you'll have your friends cheering down there for you when you get down. And you
Yep.
completely forget about the competition. Then you just have fun and then go back to it for a second run. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, that was, I think, something I really struggle with and I definitely need to get better at.
Mhm.
But I know a lot of people, they figure out what's best for them if they're like really energetic in the starting gate, like, let's go, I'm going to do this. Or a lot of people who just like really calm. What side are you on?
Ooh, that's a good question because I've played with that season I was talking about where I was learning through every NORAM start. I was trying both sides of it. Would try one event where I'd kind of amp myself up, really feel like I just shotgunned a Red Bull at this before pushing out of the gate. I had so much energy, and then I tried the opposite where I really tried to calm myself down, feel like nothing was going on, really low stress. And for me, it falls somewhere in the middle. But I put it down to it's not necessarily energetic or calm. It's just a really high level of focus, is what works the best for me.
Mhm.
So just kind of finding that zone, getting into it, and eliminating all the distractions around me, and just focusing on my one task at hand, to just put forth my best run when it matters. Trying to
Mhm.
not think too far into the future, into what finals and super finals looks like, or thinking back to like, oh man, I could have done that exit better in my last training run. It's just all thinking about the run that I have in front of me right now.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, okay, so this is kind of off topic, like kind of on topic, but I was just kind of thinking about this when we were talking about like standing on the starting gate. Some people use music and
Mhm.
some people don't use music. I use music personally. I haven't really tried it without music, but I think I'll kind of like tinker with that a little bit this year because I know a lot of people start with music and they're like, whoa, I've never tried it without music before, but I skied like so much better, so I'm just gonna do that. Do you
Mhm.
listen to music like during your competition run or do you just focus on the run?
I don't have any music in when I'm competing. No, I've tried it before, tried different things, and occasionally on a training day, if we have a long lap, a lot of the time on the chairlift or something, or if we're doing group flats, I'll throw an earbud in and listen to something just to kind of keep my mind working, so I don't totally zone out. But when it comes to time to compete and in any like official training scenario, I don't have any music in. I'm just kind of locked into what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I know a lot of people use music, don't use music. I'm definitely gonna
Mhm.
try that without music this year because a lot of people say it helps. But
Yeah, and I know a
well,
bunch
just
of people that really like it too, so it's definitely what works best for you. It's not my
yeah.
way is the perfect way and the highway because I
Mhm.
could name 10 people off the top of my head that I know listen to music in the gate, and there are
Yeah.
people who beat me all the time, so it
Mhm.
works.
Mhm. You're this huge field of all these people, and you know, probably super intimidating, especially all these guys who've been doing this like super long time, have all these medals under their belt. And how do you guess really just like how do you feel when you're going up in the starting gate and you're just like, whoa, like Akuma just went before me, or the greatest mogul skier, considered the greatest mogul skier of all time, is going right after me. How do you just kind of handle that and just go through that, or do you just not think about that at all?
Yeah, no, that's a good question because I've definitely, found myself in a position where I've thought about it.
Mhm.
And I've been thinking about it and let it kind of not consume what I'm thinking about, but it's a distraction, right? So
Mhm.
it's taking me off course of what's important to me at that time. So really being I think there's almost a maturity that you kind of learn being in that scenario where you say, okay, I'm not going to try to just shut the door on it and say, don't think about this, don't think about this, and try to ignore it. I think like, embrace it. Know that you have that thought. Know that Akuma just went. Have Mick coming after me. Two people that are incredible competitors, but then kind of be in a position to say, yeah, that's going on, but I'm in this position for a reason, and I have a goal to do. So move on and just focus on the play in front of you is really what I always try to do.
Mhm. So to get to your level takes extreme amount of work. I obviously don't know, but I'm very accurate guess takes an
Mhm.
extreme amount of work, dedication, and obviously some days you're like, I don't like what if I just kind of skip training today or what if I just took a day off? How do you get your mind to just be like set, focused on, okay, I know I don't want to go, but I need to go because
Right.
like, I just can't go because I just can't not go just because I don't want to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great question because I've, been at multiple points in my career where I've thought that, kind of wanted to give in. My dad always had something he would say to me when I was younger, and he always said, you don't ever get the day back, right?
Mhm,
So you think, okay, if I'm going to skip training today, or maybe you make the excuse, okay, I'll skip today, but I'll do a little extra in my workout tomorrow. Then
mhm.
it'll make up for it. But then it's like, okay, you just do the extra in your workout tomorrow, anyways, and do it today, and then you benefited on both sides.
Yeah,
So now you're winning both days. So I think it's super important in that regard because it's easy to talk yourself down the path like, oh, it's one day isn't going to make any difference, but
yeah,
no, I think one day makes all the difference because keeping yourself disciplined on um, that kind of lifestyle of improvement, of looking to get better every single day, you're going to look back at what you were doing a year ago and not even recognize yourself anymore because you've improved so much.
yeah. Yeah, and I just always have, like, these battles with my head. I'm like, "No, I'll
Mm,
just skip one day, it'll be fine," and then I'll do a workout after skiing tomorrow, whatever, even though it's not
yeah,
scheduled, or I just always have to just, stick with what I go with, and then I go to a competition, and then I do bad, and then I'm like, "Whoa, well, maybe if I went to those trainings that I said it would be fine to miss, I would have done better." And then I just like start to beat myself up and stuff
right.
like that. But so I just think it all really benefit if I could just stay disciplined and just go even though I don't want to.
Right, exactly. Because that discipline, I think, is super important in sport, but also in everything we do for the rest of our lives. Having
Hmm.
that, yeah, Kobe. I listened to something he said once, and he said, okay, so at the beginning of the season, he makes a contract with himself that's non-negotiable.
I
There,
saw
under
that
no
too.
under no circumstance can you change it. Can you say anything about it? You set out with the goal, so your contract signed, it's done deal, and you have to work for it to accomplish it.
Yeah, I saw a video. I don't know if it was from him. Somebody from basketball, really good. I forgot. It might have been him, but he said, oh yeah, he said if somebody was there like enforcing you and just telling you to do all these workouts and forcing you to do it, you do it. And so you just need to put that
Mhm.
person in your head, and you need to have as much respect for yourself and what yourself is telling you to do as you have for the person that'd be telling you to do it. And I just I thought of that and I was like, whoa, that's like like really accurate because I know if my coach is telling me here right now, like you need to get up, you need to go do this workout. I know it's not scheduled, but it'll help. But then if in my mind I was doing that, I'd be like, no, it's not scheduled. I don't need to. Or I
Right.
mean, obviously my coach would put it on there if he wanted to, and then I just completely just like get off track, and I just yeah, and then I'll like regret it later, but then I'll do it again. But
Right, exactly. No, you got the right idea. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. At the beginning of like this topic, I heard you talk about your dad and just like what he told you. I hear that you're really close with your dad. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that and how that might be helping you in your sport or just anything else in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my mom and my dad, I'm super close with both of them. Just little things like, having dinner every night, getting to talk about the day, talk about the challenges, what
Mhm.
worked, what didn't. But both of them have just been by my side my whole career. The people
Yeah.
driving me to training, picking me up, standing at the bottom when it's freezing cold. So yeah, it's always been really important to me having them close to me and having them in my circle because I wouldn't be here, one, without them, but two, they give me so much support and two people that I always know, I can go to with any problem. They'll give me a hug and we'll figure out how to get through it. It'll never be something where they're questioning me on if anything is really worth it, if I should really be doing it, because
Mhm.
they've always put my best interests forward. Yeah, and I wouldn't be here without either of them.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well. Really close to both my parents. And, like my dad, especially, and my mom let us, my dad helps me a lot with the competition part of it.
Mhm.
He'll, he'll like fly out to, with not just with me, but with all my sisters. Like for my sister Kenna, like he'll fly out to Calgary, like
Right.
watch her competitions. He'll go to Waterville, watch their competitions. And it's just, and then my mom making all these like sacrifices to let us move up here and everything, even though she knows that she won't see us as much. And I just
Mhm.
like sitting down here talking with you, I'm like, whoa, parents do a lot,
Yeah,
and
they
you
make
just gotta
they
like,
make everything happen.
yeah, you really gotta appreciate it because without them, without my parents, I do not know where I'd be right now, but it's definitely would not be here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously, like you said, you started at a young age and you kept going. Did you ever feel at a moment like you might not want to do it or you got burned out or there's a part of it specifically that you didn't like or did you just always have like this love for it?
Um, yeah, I never really had a moment like that. From when I started, I watched that 2010 Olympics and said that's where I want to be, and I'm not stopping until it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So even on those hard days where the alarm goes off at 5:30, 6 in the morning to go work out, there was still always this end goal in my mind that got me to it. It's like, okay, I don't care what time it is, what I'm feeling right now. Like I have a goal, I have a task at hand that I need to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I think that's what always kept me going through it and never let me get burnt out through any of that.
Yeah. And that's watching, like, as you said, you sat down and watched that 2010 Olympics, and that's really amazing because you got your bib right behind you,
Yeah.
2022 Beijing. That's really amazing. And I just, really respect that because I have a goal of going to the Olympics too. So,
Right. Oh, well, thank you.
yeah, yeah. Did making the Olympics like meet your expectations? And I know it was kind of hard because of COVID and everything, and it's definitely different experience than people have had in the past. But it's like
Mhm.
overall, did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. There were one of the things that I talked to someone about after, and they who had gone to 3 Olympics, 4 Olympics, 5 Olympics. They said, yeah, like you talk about each one, you never go to the same Olympics twice. Every single one is different in its own way. So my Olympics in 2022, we had the whole COVID pandemic building up to it. The whole thing that we were, at times I think more stressed and nervous about making sure we didn't get COVID than we were actually qualifying for the
Yeah, that I saw some of those videos. Those looked like hardcore, having to do all those tests and how do
right.
you had to eat in your own little like area. That was yeah,
Mhm.
that looked stressful.
Yeah, so some stuff like that, but I wouldn't go back and change anything because I think I appreciate every little step um, along the way that it took to get there because all of it, built up to what it was. So every single piece of it had its own reason of being there. Um, Now getting to the Olympics, getting to that stage was awesome. It was definitely a big goal throughout my whole career, and I was able to come home and leave there still hungry for more, which I think
Yeah,
was really cool too. Like it wasn't like we went to the Olympics, seal the book, we're done. It was come home and be like that was an awesome experience. I got really close, but now what's the change that I need to do to get even better, which I
yeah.
think was super valuable.
Yeah. So Got the next Olympics, 2026, and are you going for the medal now?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, if I answered no to that question, there'd be something wrong. Absolutely.
That's fair. That's fair. And I definitely think you could do it. With your this past year, extremely successful. You got 3 years to go and get that. I think that's definitely attainable.
Yeah,
And
well, thank you.
yeah, I think you'll be able to get that easily. Yeah. Okay, so on the topics of the Olympics, how do you feel about the Olympic qualifying process? I mean, just like how the work you have to do to get there and everything. I know it's kind of difficult because they'll go on years previous rather than just the Olympic year, and it just
Mhm.
kind of gets confusing. So, how do you feel about that process?
Yeah, it's definitely complicated, like you're talking about. There's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of things that just make it a challenging qualification process. I mean, you're narrowing down an entire nation's full of the best athletes down to 4 men and 4 women in the best case, because
Yeah.
there's chances it couldn't be 4 and 4. It could be less than that. So dealing with all those stresses coming in was definitely something to always be aware of.
Hmm.
And I always tried to keep that in a different lane than what I was focused on all the time. Like
Hmm.
if I stepped into the starting gate, it wasn't, oh man, I need to get, a top 10 result here because that'll get me closer to qualifying. It was, no, you still step into the gate with the goal to win that
Yeah.
event at that time. So I think that perspective helped me, but it's a hard road to go down because you work so hard and so long, and then if you miss out, it feels like you just climbed Everest and got flown off the top before you made it to the peak. But I think one of the things going into that year that helped me a lot is from the very first day after the season before, I said, to myself, okay, I'm working as hard as I can to get to this point right now. So every single day through that summer was focused on improving, getting better, and getting myself to a point where I could make that team and then compete at the top level of the Olympics after being there. So kind of managing all that and knowing that the work that you're putting in is going to go somewhere was somewhere or something that I think it really helped me through that whole process of not getting ever too tied up in the nitty gritty of it, but just trying to make sure I got myself to a spot that would work.
Yeah, and I think saying how you don't focus on that, I think a lot of people could really hear what you just said, because I know the amount of people, I'll go to a competition and they're like, well, if I don't go here, I don't go to nationals, and it just really stresses them out a lot. And I'm just like, all right, it's all right. You just need to. You've done this 100 times before. You're a good competitor. You're even better skier. You just got to get in there and do it. And yeah, a lot of people could definitely benefit from that advice,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah.
And it was, I'm lucky to be able to say that too because I had a lot of people give me that advice and help bring me up through that kind of thinking because they had lived it themselves. They'd figured out, what worked, what didn't work, and how to get through that, and then share it with me. So it's cool to, be now in this seat where I can maybe share it with someone else and help someone else who's thinking about something similar.
Yeah, I know for me, I can already predict the future, and hopefully my predictions won't be right, but I'm gonna be like, well, if I don't do this, and there's a chance that I can't go to nationals or selections or whatever. And so yeah, I'm gonna try to remember that mindset, your mindset, because I think that'll be helpful.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. On Instagram, they just released the A team, D team, list, and I was reading that A team list, and I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of female skiers on here." And I was like, "There's only three, right?"
Hmm.
Yeah, you and then Cole and Dylan, and I was like, "It's not a lot." And obviously, I know that for men's, harder to get farther in the sport, get to that Olympic level. But do you think in the next year or two you'll be able to add a few more guys onto there?
Yeah, I really hope we can, and we can start to build up a strong team, because we have
Yeah.
so much hard work and so much talent in U.S. freestyle skiing right now, um, that as younger generations start to come up to this top level, I think it could really benefit everyone. And on the women's team, it's something to speak to, just how strong we are. I mean, when
Yeah.
you have, I think we have what, seven women on the A team, and you
Sounds
could look every single one of them. You could look them up and down and say, "Yep, you could go stand on a World Cup podium tomorrow."
Yeah,
Which is
seriously.
awesome. I mean, having a team that's that deep and that strong is unbelievable, and it really shows, all the work that all those girls have done, to all those women have done to get to this point. It's really impressive.
Mhm. Yeah, the woman team right now is stacked. I was
And
thinking about that as well. Like you guys got so many women up there. I'm hoping that I can get up there soon.
I hope you do too.
But yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but like there's this few kids, like one of them, Porter Huff, for example. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mhm.
But what do you think of those up and coming kids like him who are just turned 15 and I'm pretty sure he's going to the Youth Olympics this year. Like what
Oh,
do you
wow.
think of kids like that?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, since I made the team in 2019, I realized how quickly, once you go to World Cup, it's easy to kind of lose that connection with the sport domestically, just
Mhm.
because you aren't around it. You see maybe one event a year where you get to see all these kids, but like at nationals this year, getting to ski around and see how well some of these kids are skiing, how much they love the sport, how much they love improving, I think is really cool. And I think if they can keep that sort of mindset, that sort of path going, they'll be up sitting next to me in a handful of years, being contenders at the top of the World Cup.
Yeah, yeah. And so what I've heard, like you were talking about, like so what I've heard from a lot of people is, I mean, not a lot, I mean, I guess a good amount, is that you guys get kind of homesick when you're off the World Cup tour a lot. Like Liz Lemley told me, and also just not even told me, I just like observed, like she's like never home, especially in the winter, like
Mhm.
never home. I'm like, oh, when are you coming home? She's like, I don't know, I'm going to Georgia right now. I was like, oh, okay. When are you going home? Oh, I'm going to Aruba now. I'm like, oh my god. And so
Yeah,
I forget, like, dear, are you just ever like, okay, I want to go home now. Like, I don't want to keep traveling.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of what we do. Like, being in this situation is awesome, because you get to see all the world, you get to travel, compete, do what you love all across the globe. But you also have to take with that yeah, you are traveling all around the world all the time.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of time that you're not at home. I think I did the math on it a year or two ago, and I was gone for 7 months out of the year. Which is crazy, being away from family, and friends and Park City. But I was really lucky having a good group of people around me to still make it feel like home, still make it feel like I've got a community around me that's really supportive. It's huge. And then being really appreciative of the time when you are home is
Hmm.
important. Like, not just walking in the front door, jumping in bed and being like, okay, I've got a break now, I'm just gonna lock myself in my room. But actually, spending time with your family, getting out and seeing friends and people around the town. Because just like this, I mean, Park City turns into what almost feels like a vacation sometimes, because I'm gone
Yeah.
so much, even though it's home.
Hmm. Uh-huh. That's a really good answer because some people just kind of don't really answer it in depth and they're just like, oh, it's fine, it's not that
Yeah.
bad. So it's nice you actually went into depth with that. So thank you. Um,
Yes.
and so kind of wrapping this whole thing up, it's been a super great conversation. And this is the last question that I have that
Mm.
I ask everybody, or I guess two people I've had on so far. They said it's the hardest question to answer, but what is your definition of happiness?
Oh, that's a good question. because I think we take it for granted so much, what that means and happiness in general. Because I know it's something that's so important to you, but for me, I like to think happiness just means improving every day is really important. That's what
Yeah.
makes me happy. Being able to look in the mirror every night before you go to bed when you're brushing your teeth or whatever and say, did I improve today? Because if the answer is yes, then you know you're doing something right. You know you're going down the right path.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me happy. I like that grind of getting better every day, even when it's hard. And I think that going back through everything has kind of helped shape who I am and what I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good definition of happiness because, I mean, I can kind of agree with that. And even though it's hard, I just like knowing, like the other day, I was looking back at my videos, and for a while, I went through like a spot where I just felt like I like plateaued. I was like, I feel like I have not gotten better in a really long time. This is getting frustrating. I go to all the trainings, I do all this extra work, I watch all these videos, but then at the like a couple days ago, I looked back at my competitions where I thought I wasn't getting any better, and I was like, "Whoa, there's been like drastic improvement here," and that just made me like
Right.
super happy. So
Exactly. So that
yeah,
hard to look, day by day, you don't see much change. But when you look at where you were a year ago, where I was a year ago, you can't even recognize the person anymore, which I think is really cool.
yeah, yeah. Well, there was a closing question. This has been a really fun podcast. I'm super glad we were able to get you on. I really appreciate it. And just so everybody knows, Mikhail Kingsbury is our next guest. It's going to be a super fun time. And thank you all for watching. Thank you, Nick, again for coming on. It's meant a lot to me. And yeah, I'm super forward. I'm looking forward to being out in Whistler with you guys for like week and a half.
Yeah. Hey, Ava, this was awesome talking to you. Thank you for having me on. I really
Yeah, of
appreciate it.
course.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Happy Podcast with your host, Ava Keenan, a podcast about mogul skiing, success, and happiness. Be sure to check us out at avakeenan.com. And until next time, happy skiing.